and a two-time WNBA champion for the Los Angeles Sparks. She also is the Pac-10 Conference all-time leader in points, rebounds, and block shots. Lisa, well, this weekend's all about basketball and just all the incredible teams that have made it here. Can you break down some of the games and who is your pick for this year's championship?
Well, you just jump right in there, huh? Well, before I begin, I want to say thank you to my husband, Michael, who's here. And for one of the first times, I actually brought my children, which sometimes I do a lot of work and I travel and I don't bring them. But Lauren is here. Lauren, can you say hi? And MJ, can you say hi? He's a little shy over there. Lauren loves to have the microphone, but Lauren, it's my turn right now. I'll let you come up in a little bit, okay? She's actually the star. For me, this is, I'm not so much one for the spotlight as much as my daughter is. So just give me a moment, Lauren, okay? Let me do my interview, then you can have the mic. To answer your question about this Final Four and my picks, it's really tough because I was really, I'm actually right about my bracket, if I will, for the women's bracket. I picked these Final Four teams that are here. I picked them not just based on their talent, but also based on their coaches. Let me just start with South Carolina with Dawn Staley, obviously one of my favorite people on earth, one of my Olympic teammates and my roommate for a decade. She's just such an amazing person and has so much passion, and I think that she's really been able to pass that passion along to her players, and so I was very confident when I picked them to come to the Final Four. Brenda Fries for Maryland, another very passionate, feisty coach who I think she's really been able to get her young players to play a great style of basketball, tenacious defense, and I think a lot of times coaches, their coaching style really shows through in their players, and Brenda Fries has been able to do that with Maryland, so that's why I picked them to make it to the Final Four. Notre Dame, well, I think that was probably the toughest bracket because Baylor with Kim Mulkey and Notre Dame with Coach Muffet McGraw, both two great coaches, I think very feisty, and their players take on their personalities, but what can you say? She has Jewel Lloyd, so I went with Notre Dame, before when the brackets came out, just because I thought Jewel Lloyd would make a difference. She actually didn't play that great, but they made it, so they're here, and I look for them to do great things as well. And then UConn, well, what can we say other than everybody starts their bracket out, I think, with putting UConn all the way through, just because they've been such a powerhouse. They have, some of the best players, obviously, in the country with their All-Americans. So those have been sort of my thoughts on picking my Final Four. As far as choosing a winner, I think it's tough. I would love to see just some great basketball. I think UConn has kind of written this story that if Gino wins his 10th title, he'll be tied with John Wooden, which is just an amazing accomplishment in itself. We can't hate on them. I mean, they're a dynasty, and he's done an amazing job there. If you look at Maryland, though, they're feisty. If they play a perfect game and UConn does not play as great as they're capable of, they can get beat. And we saw that with their game against Dayton, right? So there is some weaknesses there, but when they're on top of their game, I really think they're unbeatable. And then South Carolina, the only team who's really had the opportunity to play UConn and lose, but they could possibly use that experience if they can get past Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, I mean, completely capable of beating South Carolina. I think for me, when I look at South Carolina, because they're so young and when their big girls come in, they have to be committed to doing the intangibles, which are the little things, and boxing out every time and truly being committed to that. I don't know that that's necessarily a part of their habits yet, because they're so big, they're used to just out jumping people, and whereas Notre Dame is going to be so much more fundamental, and they're going to be committed to making sure that they're one and done. So I think that'll be a great game. I can't really pick guys, but I just gave you sort of an overview of what's in my heart.
Thank you, and that's an incredible overview. Thank you for that. What is your view on the state of women's college basketball, and where do you see it in 5 years?
ACC Coach of the Year,
Sir, can you turn down your mic over there?
You.
They're so loud.
Miami.
Okay, go ahead. What's your question? We have to talk louder than them.
Coach Katie Myers in the house.
What is your view on the state of women's college basketball, and where do you see it 5 years from now?
I think the state of women's college basketball is really strong. I think that with the number one, the rule that we have that the women have to go to college for 4 years really helps build the programs. And as we've seen, you know, there's been sort of a shift. There was a time, I think when I was in college, you know, Tennessee was like always winning, you know, and yeah, and not that they're not capable of it, but it's been great. UConn has obviously become a powerhouse and we see them so much. But I love the fact that South Carolina's here, Maryland's here, Notre Dame has really been, you know, to the dance. I think I would say 4 years, maybe, is this their 5th year? 5 years. So, you know, they're tired of dancing and not winning, but it's great to see sort of the parity and, you know, Stanford's usually been here and there's other teams. So I really love that about the women's game. I would like to see more women not necessarily choose to always go to the same powerhouse schools though. I like when you know, for me, when I chose USC was in number 10 in the Pac-12. They weren't. Tennessee was number 1, and I could have gone to Tennessee. I could have gone to Stanford. But I chose USC because I really wanted to do something different and kind of change a program around. So sometimes if I'd have to say to these young players in high school, it's like, I don't know, sometimes the legacy of the coach kind of outshines the players sometimes. That's just for me. I would suggest if my daughter was truly like a senior in high school and she was getting ready to pick a school, I would like her to pick an Ivy League first. But if not, you know, do something different. But I'm just kind of different in that way.
I love it. I agree. Okay, so you've spent several years working as with Capital One as an advisory board member for the Capital One Cup. Can you tell everyone in the audience a little bit about the Capital One Cup and what they're about?
Yeah, the Capital One Cup, if you guys are not familiar with it, the Capital One Cup is a cup, a beautiful, beautiful cup. I don't know if there's pictures around here of what the trophy looks like, but the college for both the men and women's team, the colleges that combine scores for fall, spring, and winter sports, basically the colleges that win the most championships get the most points, and therefore they earn the bragging rights, okay? So I can't speak so highly for USC right now because we haven't won. Stanford has won on the women's side, and then UCLA won in 2013. But what happens is that these points are tallied up based on the championships that you win. But the reason why I am a part of the Capital One Cup really is because $200,000 is awarded to the schools that win, and that goes towards scholarships and helping these student athletes further their education, whether it's in grad school or to help recruiting. So that money is all about, you know, going back to the student athletes and helping them. And so as for me, I've always been an advocate of my education just as much as basketball, and for our young kids to focus on their education, because we know only 1 to 2% make it professionally. The rest of these kids that get these college scholarships end up going into corporate jobs and working. And so, you know, all these schools need this money, but I think it's great. The other reason why I love being a part of the Capital One Cup is because it's about Title IX and equality. The fact that it's $200,000 for the women's program and $200,000 for the men's program really speaks volumes to me. So I'm happy to be connected to the Capital One Cup. This is my 5th year, a part of being on the advisory board. And what we do is we award the trophies to the colleges that win at the ESPYs. And the last part of it that really is great is that it brings attention to some of the smaller sports. So we know that some of our schools are powerhouses in football and basketball and in volleyball, but it also gives, like, for example, UConn's women won the field hockey championship, which won them points. So if UConn wins the national championship, they'll actually move into the top 3 because it gives a little bit of a, you know, glory to some of the smaller sports, whether it's bowling or swimming. You know, all those sports deserve to have, you know, just as much notoriety, obviously, as our big sports. So I think it's just a phenomenal opportunity to be a part of. The fact that they really do honor, you know, the women's programs as much as the men's program. Go Capital One.
And as a former college athlete, we all love our bragging rights. So
yes, I haven't been able to brag much, I tell you.
Everyone, do after our interview, after Lisa Leslie's autograph session, please do visit the Capital One area and the Capital One Cup to learn more about that. It just is an incredible program. And as a former college athlete myself, it's just amazing to be able to support those kind of things. So you had an amazing career at USC, Lisa. Fight on. And,
fight on.
What would you say is your most memorable moment in college?
Oh, wow. Let's see, my most memorable moment really would be winning the Pac-10 championship. Being in the conference with Stanford was very tough, and they would always, win the championship, or we'd take second place and fall short to them. So my senior year, we actually beat Stanford to win the Pac-10 championship. It's the Pac-12 now, but it was the Pac-10 then. That was probably the highlight. Beyond that, getting to the Final 8 was very rewarding, but I always hate that we fell short. We didn't make it to the Final 4, and I really felt like, sometimes we had 8 players. We weren't really stacked high. That was probably I would say the downfall of picking a school that's not, ranked very high, is that it was very tough to sort of get over that hump and not having, like a team full of All-Americans like you see on, UConn. But I had a great time at USC, and I really enjoyed my coaches also, Marianne Stanley and Barbara Thaxton. I think coaches they speak volumes to you, and they teach you so much beyond the game of basketball. But one thing I'll share with you, I remember when I was a freshman and we had a dress code. When I first got to college, we had to wear dresses only. We had to dress up for traveling, and I'm like, what? We can't wear our sweats? But there was a moment where we got on a flight with another college team, and I won't throw them under the bus, but they looked so disheveled and they looked a mess. And it was just one of those moments where I was proud that I was at USC, and we were dressed so nicely and so professional, and really represented our school. So sometimes I feel like my coaches, they were really huge impact on me beyond basketball, and I love them for that.
Awesome, thank you. What was your motivation to excel in college, and both athletically and academically, that just kept you pushing on?
Yeah, I think the idea that I never thought that I was good, like great, or that I was the best. And I think always having goals that I wanted to get better. If I saw a guard do a move that I didn't know how to do, then I wanted to be able to do what she could do. And if I saw, a forward, shoot a three-pointer and her percentage was higher than mine, then I wanted to do what she could do. And if there was a post player that, well, there really wasn't, that had a better move than me, I would want to know it. So for me, I think I was always a student of the game, and I think the drive to want to learn and get better constantly is what